Hey guys, my name is Willemsen. You might know me from mods such as Knights of the Empire, The Latest Calling, and Alberic Lord of the Sea for the game Total War Warhammer, and well, Total War Warhammer 2. I'm creating this video today because, well, I get asked a lot how I do the textures for my units. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy helping you guys when you reach out to me, but I kind of want to streamline the process a bit. In this video, we're going to look at a unit in the game and kind of figure out why it looks the way it does and how it does this through different types of texture. As well as that, I'm going to give some basic pointers on editing these files to create a unique looking unit for the game. Of course, we're going to look at my favorite unit, the Grail Knights. Why I chose the Grail Knights as well is because they were just a great example theory-wise. And specifically, we're going to look at their torso textures. I'm not going to cover how to actually make the units through database editing because, well, there's much more qualified people that have already made great tutorials doing so. And I'll leave some of the links in the description. Okay, so before we get too far in the video, let me just make it very clear. I am no expert at this. I've learned pretty much all by myself through books, through online tutorials, you name it. But I've had no really formal education on it. So I do want to I do want to state that I'm not an expert by any means of the matter, and not all information might be 100% correct, but I hope that you still get the basics and a general understanding. So first we have to look at how to actually get the files needed out of the game to work on. There are two great tools created by members of the community that we're going to look at. The first one is Pack File Manager. It's the classic go-to for Total War in general, actually, and it's been created by individuals. Ruthless. I am Danu and Luinaja. Can't pronounce it, so that's my bad. And then the second one we're going to look at is my personal favorite, and that's the Worsted Pack File Manager. That's by a gentleman named Frodo. So I personally use this one the most, and so please go give his Patreon a check because that's where he puts all his updates, explanation of what it does, and again, please look at it and considering donating to his Patreon. Okay, so how kind of Warhammer works is in the data directory for the game, they have packs. These are mods, these are, actually official Creative Assembly packs, and this is what kind of stores the data. Vandy made a great text tutorial. It just gives you a better explanation on what this is. But for all purposes, we mainly want to look at the variants folder, variants packs, because these are the actual 3D models in the form of rigid models, and as well as the variants DDS, because these are the textures. So we've kind of looking at this. Variants are, if you open up real quickly, because I'm forgetting now that I'm doing this, it's the pusher. Variants is pretty much Warhammer 1 stuff. So all those factions. And then variants 2 is, well, that is more of the new stuff, like the new world, Warhammer 2. And again, because it's just the variants file, these are just the original models, as well as the WS models. I think that's what they're called. And I personally stick away from those for a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to cover those in these videos. Okay, so now, as you see for the DDS, there's a lot, it's kind of a lot more separated. And I think that's just, I don't know exactly why they do that, but he was kind of, this is the opposite. So, here, oh no, it's the same, sorry. So here would be Game 1 stuff. But this is mainly like mounts and animals. It's pretty much the top half of all the folders. And then this would be, again, for the new Warhammer 2 stuff. And then this would be for Warhammer 1 again, but the bottom half of the folders. So we kind of want to open up that because the Grail Knight's here. Fun fact, these folders are divided up into actual animations. So pretty much all these units share the same skeleton, and they're the human one skeleton, okay? And so we want to go to Brit, we want to go to Oh my goodness, Grail Knights and torso, and then when we look here, they have the diffuse, glass map, mask, normal, specular, and this is actually for different units that replaces the uses the same model but replaces the diffuse and uses a unique one. So we kind of want to look at these ones here, and so pretty much all you can do is highlight them and you can extract to anywhere, and then we're going to take a look at it from there. Okay, so now that once we got the files out, you might be asking, well, what's a .dds? Because that's the file extension for this. So I'm going to read off an explanation because, again, I can't remember this stuff. A DDS file is a raster image saved in the direct draw surface DDS container format. It can store compressed and uncompressed pixel formats and is often used for texturing video game unit models. A DDS file may also be used to store Windows desktop backgrounds or wallpapers. Okay, so now that we have kind of an idea, that's less important, but the real question is, how do we open it? Well, I'm using Photoshop. That's my go-to file. And simple as that, you just gotta Google NVIDIA texture tools for Adobe Photoshop. I have no idea when these are updated last, but this is what I use personally, and it just makes sense to me. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like when you open it, and I kind of want to cover more about saving it because it will give us a better explanation on .dds. So save as for DDS, because now that we have the plugin in, and we would name it normally something unique because you want to come back and work on this, so want to be here, but I'm not changing anything, and I'm not even going to save it. So you have this option. So there's DTX1, DTX1, blah, 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 blah. So the main ones you want to look at is DTX1. And that's for anything that doesn't have an alpha channel. And I'll explain that later on in the video. And so that's mainly for the glass map and specular map. And then the other main one is DTX5. And that's mainly for the diffuse map and the normal map. So let's keep that in mind for future in the video. Okay, great. We got it open now. But now you might be asking yourself, what are we looking at? So, what a texture is pretty much telling the game engine information. And with that being said, it has to do it in a clever way. So, a 3D model is, of course, 3D. And a texture is 2D. So you might be asking yourself, how does that interact? Well, imagine a cube. The 3 hours would then unfold the cube, kind of like what you did in school as a little kid. You cut up the paper, flatten out the cube so there's a flat shape that you can fold back up and make a cube. So that's kind of what a texture map is. So the artist probably had a UV map to walk on, so that would have been the flattened out model. And yeah, so that's probably what they walked on, and of course they hit it once they compressed it, walked on it, whatever. Okay, so back to the diffuse map. So what this is we talked about textures and how they give information to the game engine. So diffuse or basic color information. So what's white, what's black, what's yellow, what's green. Again, I'm using very, I'm not saying every color, of course, because it can be any color. But, so that's what kind of a diffuse map is. So, as well as that, you might be asking yourself, well, you see the cloth of the knight, but you don't see the chainmail or the plate. This is going to make much more sense later on when we talk about the specular map. But it's there, trust me. If you look here, that's the plate of the bracers. This is actually chainmail here, if I can remember correctly. We're going to take a look anyway on the specular map. But again, this is color information. And when I explain specular, we'll come back and look at it. So kind of a couple notes about the diffuse is that, well, if you go to the channels tab, there's OGBIV, or red, green, blue. And you might have heard this before, but this is how computers display color information. And so that being said, this is, all the colors combined to make this. But you can separate different channels, and red, green, blue. And you might be asking, when we click on red, why is it black and white? Well, really simple. So how color is kind of determined is that, you know, there's a value of red, value of green, and value of blue. And this value is between 1 and 255. And depending about the value is, well, what color it is. So pretty much, let's look at this. So if we put a value of 1 for green, value of 1 for blue, but like 255 for red, that's pretty much a pure red. That's because there's like no information for green, no value for blue, and then the max value for red. And so, well, kind of looking at this against some theories that black would be no red, and then pure white would be the max value red. All this channel is telling you is basic information. So really, you don't gotta worry about this. But I knew when you go over the channels that you might pass this and you might be asking a question. So with Diffuse, you mainly want to work with the, you know, the compile channel, as well as the alpha mask, or the alpha channel. And so pretty much what this is masking out the 3D model. So hide this spot, show this part. So let's look at this fleur de lis. And so when they're making the model, they could have, you know, done a bunch of little tiny squares to make this fleur de lis. But that's not practical by any sense for actually how far away you're looking at this object. It's not like, you know, the camera's right in front of it where you need to see it and it needs to be a 3D shape. So what they actually do is they do one square and they mask it out here to, you know, say hide this spot but show this, and that creates the shape of the fleur de lis. So black is, of course, this channel only has two really values: pure white and pure black. Pure black is hide, pure white is show. So let's say you want to, you know, get rid of a guy's hand. You could find the hand, go to the alpha channel, and paint that area pure black. Then ideally in the game, there'd be no hand showing. This can get a little complicated because the alpha channel is not enabled on every single part of the model. There is a way to do this through hex editing, but hex editing is a beast on its own. But check out the CNC modding den, and Mouthanel has posted kind of an overview on how to go in the file and hex edit to enable the alpha channel on every single part of the mesh. Again, this is more if you want to hide stuff, and that's kind of the other key part of the alpha mask. Okay, so next I said we'll look at the specular map. And what the specular map does is, well, this tells you how much light, you know, bounces off an object. So diffuse, color; specular, light. And so, you know, we'll look at this, and I guess, you know, to very simplify it, imagine it as black and white. Black, if an area of the texture is black, that means no light is bouncing off it. If the area of the texture is white, that means the max amount of light in the game engine is bouncing off that part of the object. So let's look at here this part of the torso. This is a grayish black, but it's not a pure black. So that means there's some light still bouncing off the object. And if you look at any object in real life, you know, unless it's a pure black, I think you might have seen some videos on YouTube of what pure black is and how it absorbs all the light. But pretty much everything reflects light. Okay? And so now, you know, it was gold here. You know, gold, because it's metallic, kind of, you know, bounces, like shines, light bounces off, and it kind of has a, like a goldish hue, yellowish hue. And so that's what this is telling you. It's not pure black, so it's you know, bouncing off light, and then it's also a color, so it's bouncing off that color. So the specular map is more for like metallics, stuff like that. You can use it for swords, and maybe adding like green, and you know, green light would be bouncing off that sword. That also being said, we can finally see the chainmail. We can finally see the plates of armor. And that's because how the kind of the game engine works is that to make this metallic looking surface, it has very little information in the color diffuse, and then a lot of information in the specular. And so for example here, a of course, every model is made by different artists. So if you look at the diffuse for the Reichsguard, it's not a pure black. Like there's some color information there, but very faint. And because again, that's a more realistic approach to how an object actually looks. But this does the same purpose. Whoever did the Grail Knight, again, I love the model. I'm not hating on it. But this is telling you, like, if you look at the gray here, like this is like shine off gray and blue, and it's a lighter gray and it's a I mean not blue, sorry, white. And so it's a light gray and a light white, so it's really reflecting these colors, and that's how they kind of emulate the, you know, the quality of metal in a video game. So kind of a few tips about this real quickly is that, again, I really want to stress it because I've seen models do it before. So let's say we want to make this armor, so I was messing around with my brushes earlier. Let's make this armor blue, for example, right? Okay, so you just paint over blue, you lose texture quality, right? And if you have some kind of familiarity, you know what I'm saying? You understand that you can change the properties of the layer. So you can go to color. So you think, okay, I want to color this blue, so I'm gonna go blue. But color kind of takes the basic information of that and so it becomes totally wash. Don't hesitate to use the multiply layer, and again we get this nice, more richer, vibrant blue. You know, I've seen people want to do like red. Okay, red's a very popular one. Might have seen my nice and Carmine. You know what I'm talking about. And so there you go, very nice red. And then when you look at this in game, the armor will be shining red. But again, I've seen where people choose color, and then you get this really kind of pink color. And again, it makes sense when you look like, I want this color, and I'm just color. But again, the theory behind the layer settings is much more complicated than I'm going to go over. But yeah, so I want to keep that in mind. That's not my biggest pet peeve, but I've kind of seen this before, and I really wanted to pass this along. Again, don't hesitate to use like multiplier or even mess around with the different layer settings. Because again, you want to get the closest color as you want. And again, you don't settle with pink if you want red. Okay, drives me crazy. Don't do it. And so kind of interesting perspective, right? Let's say let's imagine this as paint on an armor. So paint isn't really reflective. So you would kind of want to make this black, go back to the diffuse, and make it green. There's different tricks to do it. Like again, I would probably, you know, copy this information, put it here on a lower, copy the wrong one, copy the actual layer, make it here, put it as lower, and erase kind of the area I want. And so again, now you might be like, oh, so this is how I make metal. Well, because again, this is basic color information. So this is literally going to be gray and white, with no kind of reflective property to it, unless it's the same here. But it's going to be way too much information if it's the same kind of colors, with the same kind of reflectivity. That's why, again, to make this metal, they pretty much put no color information on the diffuse. But yeah, so let's say you want to make a painted armor or whatever. Yeah, I'm doing this very quick. I'll go here and then again do the same idea of multiply, but then it would have more of a paint quality to it. So again, these are the kind of main points of specular, and again, that's pretty much all done in one channel, and that's really all you gotta need to know for that. So next we're going to look at the gloss map, and by its name, I hope you have kind of an idea what it does. It's pretty much the glossiness of an object. So if you look at an object, okay, like yeah, this is glossy, this is not. There's probably a better way to explain what glossiness is, but that's not my expertise. But I'm sure if you look at any object on your desk or wherever you're sitting, you'd be like, okay, this object is more glossy than another object, and it's more glossy here than there. Okay, so now that we got an idea of what glossiness is, you know, if you Google a gloss map, you will see that, you know, it's black and white. And this is red. So first let me explain the principle between black and white gloss maps. So black would be no gloss. And then the closer to pure white is the more glossy it is. So the in-between is, you know, the different variations, right? So black, no gloss, white, really glossy, kind of like the specular. And again, that's kind of how a normal gloss map will look like, but kind of how CA has set up their models might throw you off a bit. Because if you actually go to the channels tab, the red channel, this is bam, look at that. That looks like a gloss map. And again, it's very easy. And I would walk, personally, I would copy this, you know, Control C, go to layer, make a new layer, and then I would walk off of this. If you wanted to change the glossiness of something, I would walk on this. Again, only in grayscale, so adding black, adding white, but I would walk off this. Then once you're ready to go, again, so let's do, you know, kind of a black streak here, because we don't want gloss here. Oh, it's still selected. Again, so you say, okay, well, it needs to still be in that red format. So I copied it, pasted it in red, and if we go back, there you go. Because at the end of the day, you want no information in the green channel and no information in the blue channel. Only the red channel. Hopefully that makes sense, but I would walk on it from this spot. Okay, so we're back at the diffuse, but I only have this open to use as an example. So the next type of map we're going to look at is the mask. And so we've already talked about OGBiv, so we can see that there's pure red, pure green, and pure blue. And so all the mask does is tells the game engine, use that as reference. So put color on green, put this color on red, put this color on blue. So when you see the faction colors, you'll see again like they have their set. And so let's say Bretonia, right? Lyonnaise doesn't look the same as Corleone. You know, I'm messing up the names. Please bear with me. But again, so instead of making multiple diffuse textures, because again, diffuse is color, they pretty much make a white texture on the tunic, and then they tell the game engine if they're playing this race, mask over this color, right? And again, why it's red, green, and blue. So if you're editing this, make sure again you color pick straight from these, because it's an exact value that this game is looking. And if you actually look at it, it's 0025. So pure red, you know, 025 is you can see. And again, why that is, it's let's say there's some in between color. It's going to be very hard for the engine to try to pick out that color, because it's, you know, it's like, okay, this has some blue in it, this has some green in it. So what color do I overlay it? So again, so it's a very easy way to separate information and make it easy for the game engine to see. So last but not least, we're going to look at the normal map. And this is probably the most complicated map out of the bunch. And you know what? But I'm here to hopefully explain it and you have a better understanding of it. So what is a normal map? Well, let's take a look at this handy explanation here. So if you look on the left, this is the original 3D model. But it's made out of 4 million triangles. If they want to animate that, put it in the game with a bunch of other stuff, you know, that's way too much for computers to handle. In that kind of setting, the game setting. So they simplify the mesh to 500 triangles in the middle. But of course, when you simplify it, you lose all that detail. So what some guy invented, this very intelligent guy, I don't know who did it, it's called normal maps. That's what we're looking at here. And it's how light bounces off the object. So you bake, you know, again, this is getting a little more technical, you bake the normal map onto the simplified one to create an illusion of a high definition model on a low definition model. So again, all it is how light bounces off an object. So if you look at the folds here of the tunic, you know, no way, that would be way too much shapes for the game to handle if they went in and modeled each fold, which they did, but it would be way too much for the game. So it's pretty much a flat, if you look at the model, it's flat, but then light bounces off it to, you know, say, you know, creates the illusion of depth. Depth, there you go, that's it. So it creates the illusion of depth. So, again, I know that's a little bit complicated, and if you understand the idea of normal maps, again, you'd probably understand more of what I'm saying. And I really recommend looking up different videos on normal maps and how they're made, but let's, kind of go over the basic again. So if you Google normal map, you might get an image like this. And you'll be asking, Willemsen, okay, why is Creative Assembly's maps orange and this one's like blue? Okay, well, I don't know why they did this, but pretty much going back to the channels, all these channels are in different orders. Why it did that, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to trick you up. So, we're going to do a fun little process now of turning this normal map into a blue one, because it's going to make it easier to walk at. Because this uses the alpha map, hence we save it in DTX5. But kind of a normal map doesn't have this actual channel. So this would actually normally be the red channel. So we can copy paste that into the red channel, delete that. And then the blue channel, all you would do is delete that, tone it white. Pure white. Bam! Look at that! Whoa! What, Willemsen? You did that? That's so cool. How did you know that? I don't know. I looked up StarCraft videos, and one of this was it. So again, you would edit it, and to your liking, if you want to, put another, texture, normal map over top, you would do that. Again, and then we would reverse the process. So I'll go reversing, but again, kind of explanation what a normal map does. So if you look at the red channel, let's zoom up a little bit. Okay, where's the simple spot to look at? Okay, so this is white, and this is close to black, and gray is kind of like the middle. So this kind of tells the engine the more white this is, the more it's coming up from a certain direction, and the more gray it is here, the more it's coming up from this direction. You can hand paint normal maps, but again, that's a whole different process. I would recommend you checking out other videos. I clearly can't cover that because that's a whole lot of information. And so green, you see, whoa, this looks completely different, because again, it's telling you more information about which object from the different sides, like left and right. Again, this is much more complicated than I can explain, but yeah, so simple as that. If we take, again, go to Google here, and then go to normal map. I'm gonna blow that because I don't want you guys to know what I'm googling. Okay, you know what I'm saying. So we found the book again, and that's not it. So let's put it over here. So again, really simple now. You can even just like overlay it, and now these areas will have like kind of like, it looks like bricks popping out of it. I don't know why you would do that. Very basic principle adding normal map. So yeah, so I'm also going to cover a different code, and it's different process. Okay, so I've imported a fleur-de-lis again. So let's say we want this popping out on a piece of armor. So this is just a pretty much basic outline of a fleur-de-lis, and so you might be asking, like, okay, so this is black. How are we going to make it look? So I forget what I was watching. I think it was a video on, by the developers of Dota. No, not Dota. Let me think. What's the other one? Heroes of the Storm. Okay, so pretty much basic thing they would do is very simple. Is now they have the fleur-de-lis outline. You can go up to layer style, inner glow. And you want to put that to normal. Again, you can mess around with this, but pretty much, that's not true. I want to change the site. So now I have this, and there's a lot of free programs that will make normal maps for you, from pictures, from everything. But how they kind of look is they're trying to figure out what's the farthest away from the camera and what's the closest to the camera. And so the easiest thing to do is very simplify it for this program. So black, again, let's hide this, and you would need to add another layer anyway. So black here, okay, this is a very bad example because I didn't properly clean it up, because I would definitely have cleaned this up before, because this little white trim is going to mess it up. But yeah, again, for the purpose of the video, just again, bear with me. So black is farthest away, white is closest to the camera. So that's how it figures out the depth of the object. And so yeah, so you're like, well, okay, what are we doing this now? A lot of simple free programs. So we can save this as a PNG test. Okay, so what I personally would like to use is called njob. And it's a free one made by some developer. Okay, it's very basic. There's other ones that's much better. If you Google this, and you'll be able to find this. Google normal map converters. Okay, so you'd open this, and you might see some old stuff. And what is this? This is Grail Knight. So this is not it. Oh my goodness. Parent models. Let's just find it. I've extracted everything because I've, like to walk at a lot of stuff. But yeah, so here you go, Nate's torso, text. Okay, I swear I saved it. Am I going crazy, guys? I don't know. Let me. Oh, I didn't push. Okay. Okay, that's awkward. Nah. Okay, there it is now. And so pretty much you want a height map to a normal map, because we pretty much made a height map. That's a whole different type of texture, but I don't need to cover this. Again, it's the simple idea of black far away, white closer to the viewer, or the more it's sticking out of an object. So height map to normal map. You can mess around this, kind of make it really pop out. I don't know. I wouldn't go like that because again, it's really rush. You really would want to clean this up. Okay, so now we have this. We would save it again as a PNG. PNG test. Okay. And so now I have like bajillion things open. Test here. We don't need this one anymore. We don't need the black layer. We would make this to overlay and put the texture there. And then again, we could even move this. You can get really creative with this and whatever. So let's put it here. And you could have like a fleur-de-lis popping out. Okay, we made a mistake. You can't rotate it. Never rotate it, because that's, again, it has a set, like I was explaining how, come from here to here. It has set information, right? And when you do this, you're messing up the information. You see the blues rotating, and then the pinks rotating. Again, they're there for a reason, so you don't want to do that. So let's, don't place that. So let's say you would want that before. You would have probably got the angle you want before you turn into a normal map, because again, it's very key you do that, because it's telling the engine a certain amount of information, and by rotating you mess that up. So you can't move it like that, rotate it, but there you go, it's there. And now on normal you would have a popping fleur-de-lis. I'm not going to show you, you get the gist. Okay, you would mold that down, and now you're like, okay, well, we got to turn it back to the proper format. So you take the red channel, copy that. You would make a new layer, so that becomes alpha. Place the red there. Go back to red. Delete it. Turn that white. Go back to blue. Turn that black. Bam! Look at that. Wow, that's so cool, Willemsen. Yeah, no problem, guys. Anytime. And again, that's pretty much the basic of normal maps. Again, it's very, very basic. You should really go. There's millions of resources in that, and you should really go check them out. And I hope you do. Okay, so now that we have all these completed textures, again, let's say you made them, you edited them, blah, blah, blah. You want to move on to putting them on the model, okay? So the old school way is through hex editing. And I tried to figure it out, couldn't like for me. Found a guy named Zatsk, blah, blah. I'll put his name over, of course, I can't pronounce this. Really helpful guy. And to him, it just made sense. And he tried to show me, and he really walked me, and I really do appreciate it. But I figured out hex editing for replacing textures, and I definitely would recommend learning that for anybody. So what's so great about Western Pack File Manager is that you can change the textures in the thing. So of course, you know, when you're changing stuff in here, because again, we're going to open up pack, open up the pack, we're going to open up variants. When you change here, you're changing the actual game files, so don't do that. You want to make your own pack, and again, check out the other tutorials before making a pack, and you know, bringing this stuff over. And yeah, so and then again, you can change there. But so this is the variant, so this is, you know, the actual models, and so you want Grail Knights, torso, and again, these are the two torsos. Ignore that. I guess WMS model, WS model. It's not my style, not where I go is this. I will let somebody else cover that because I don't personally like do that. I've done it for the Ghost Knights, and I didn't enjoy the process. So yeah, so again, I'm not going to go over that. So the widget model, so pretty much is when you look at that, there's lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4, lot 5, lot blah, blah, blah. So when you look at the one model, there's actually like multiple models in the same location. But you just don't see them all at one time. To make the game run better, the higher resolution the model is, the closer the camera has to be to it. But when you zoom up the camera and getting more objects in your field of view, the lower the model becomes in resolution and how much shapes to make up the model. And so that's the different LODs. So each LOD reduces the amount of shapes to make it one better. And again, when you far away, you don't notice it. It looks pretty much identical. And so since these are, again, different models, you have to change the textures for each one. So again, you would want to make it a unique name of the textures. And you would want to, again, you can change it right here, change it. It's great. Recommend LPFM. What's the Pack File Manager? Because again, it's a built-in tool that he put in that you can change it right here, and it makes a world of difference. And yeah, so that's pretty much the basics. Again, check out the other tutorials. I hope everything is covered, made kind of sense. If there's anything you want me to cover again, please comment. Yeah, and please, again, don't hesitate to reach out on my server. Again, check out the CNC modding den, because again, a lot of people are helpful there. And I'll try to get back to you guys and cover anything I've missed. This is really my first time making kind of a tutorial video, so I hope that it makes somewhat sense. And yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, have a good day.